Thank you very much, John. Yes, I'm from the CWU, as John said, and also I'm a member of the LRC National Committee. Most of my CWU colleagues are, unfortunately, it was a clash, isn't there, a Labour Party conference at the Fringe meeting on defending Royal Mail. Save Royal Mail, I know you will, but at the same time, as they're at that Fringe meeting, there are other people in a non-smoke-filled room in the Hilton Hotel struggling over the composite that's going to be in front of conference. I don't know when it's going to be, as always, with composites that are contentious at Labour Party conferences. It takes a long time to sort out and it's on the agenda, but it seems to be that the key issue, the sticking point, is whether or not this conference agrees that the Labour Party policy should be to renationalise Royal Mail if it's privatised. So all of those of you who are delegates or know people who are delegates, watch this space. There may be one composite with that in, there may be one without, one with. You know what you need to vote for. The only way you're going to save Royal Mail is by voting that this conference, this Labour Party conference, agrees to renationalise Royal Mail if the sell-off goes ahead. It's really, really important. And in fact, of all the decisions that could be made this week at the alternative reality of Planet Conference, that's one that has probably the most effect in the real world. So I would really urge people to do that. And CWU policy is for renationalisation. We believe that the Labour Party should be bold. It should catch the zeitgeist, as they say, foreign words for it's popular. People like it. It's what people want. Why on earth can't the Labour Party leadership do it? But further than that, we believe public ownership is a model whose time has come. The left has been on retreat since the banking crisis of 2008 and the massive downturn of the economy. Now is the time that we need to get our ideas out there. It's not only Royal Mail we know needs to be kept in public hands. We know that because it's a principle, we know it's an important service, but also in our union we have the experience of privatisation of the telecoms sector. And I'd like to spend a little bit of time just saying some of the lessons we've learned as a union of privatisation. This pamphlet's been produced by my union branch. It makes the case for public ownership. It was the first big privatisation of the Thatcher era telecoms, and people say, oh, it's successful. But in this pamphlet, you'll hear a different story. We'll explain how the model of liberalisation and competition is actually wasteful. We detail a story of the unnecessary waste of millions and hundreds of millions and billions of pounds eventually, or telecom boom and bust, the telecom bubble, people remember that, also the installation, the duplication of networks, and how now we've got to a stage 3 decades after privatisation where the seventh largest economy in the world, ours, is ranked 14th for the infrastructure of telecoms and 16th for actually broadband speeds. What has been delivered under privatisation is mega profits to all the telecom firms and a large bank balance to the people who run it. Ian Livingstone, director of BT, he's leaving this month with his £9 million payoff to become a Tory minister. Richard Branson has made, unnamed figures, 10 million, who knows what, from the sale of Virgin Media, which he sold to Liberty Global. 2 months before he did, de-recognised the CWU in Virgin Media and ran a ballot. The use of union busters in the telecom sector is widespread. The whole market system, regulation, government regulation, actually is really just a facade, a cover for an oligopoly of telecom firms spreading the profits out amongst them. The profits that we make as workers and you pay as consumers. And the story of telecom regulation and the liberalisation and competition is repeated in all the other utilities. Water, gas, electricity. Wonder why they have high prices. Wonder why you don't get the service you want. The answer is privatisation. We know that's what's at stake with Royal Mail. We know from our own experience. In our pamphlet and in our union policy, we argue for a different approach. We argue for rational planning and democratic control of our industries. Not the old top-down renationalisation, but public ownership that's accountable to workers and service users. And you're able to have planned development for long-term needs, not quick-fix, short-term technologies. The pamphlet also explains our experience as trade unionists and what we've seen actually happen to workers in our industry. Telecom industry productivity is the name of the game. I don't know where you all work, but I think it's the same actually in the public sector as in the private sector, because all the managers go to the same schools, don't they? They all talk the same rubbish. Performance management, yeah. That's called institutionalised bullying in my book. Stress, treating people like units of production. Funnily enough, people respond by being stressed. We know the human story. In our industry, where it's mainly skilled and semi-skilled workers, there's incredible pressure on people to work all the hours God sends. We call it a martini way of working. You're expected to work anywhere, anytime, any place. We wanted to tell the story of telecom because of what's happening with the Royal Mail, but also because I think we're at the stage now, we're in the middle of they're drawing up the new Labour Party manifesto. People want ideas of what's going on. We've got something to say as workers in our industry. We've got something to say about how consumers lose out in the industry, and we think that's what should inform the economic system. And we think that's what should inform what our politics should be. Properly egalitarian, where you actually have an economy based on the interests of everyone who works there and everyone who uses the service. Instead of that, we only hear the voice of so-called economic experts talking about competitiveness, productivity, narrow profit seeking. And that's all we ever hear in the press. That's all we ever hear from the commentariat. It's all you hear from most academics and most cultural commentators. The voice of the worker is very rarely heard. And as a result, our political debate is made narrow and shallow and divorced from people's lives. The current economic debate on austerity in the Labour Party is a brilliant example of this narrow and shallow debate. It's not a question of are we against the cuts, it's all them cuts, they're just going a bit too far and a bit too fast. But despite the experience of 2008, it's still the 2008 crash, it's still the case that the voice of the so-called experts who actually brought the world financial system to the brink of destruction are still given credence. We can't believe it. You would think they'd have a bit of shame. It's like world governments. It was governments, the state, that actually rescued that financial system, yet the people who created that problem and actually are perpetuating their ideas. Now is the time for the Labour Party to adopt a clear position on market economics at this conference and the next conference before the next general election. They've got to accept the fact that the market cannot deliver. Market madness cannot deliver for people at work and people in our communities. As socialists, we aspire to a truly human society of equality and freedom. Technological change, which frees us from drudgery, the manual grind, repetitive domestic labour, has created more freedom for us. And it has the potential to create a lot more freedom, more than we can ever imagine. That's in the future. The explosion of communications technology especially, and the interconnectedness of the world through communications technology actually creates new social relations. It creates massive possibilities for us as human beings. We're in a new phase of human development. And there's an opportunity to expand our human wants and to meet all human needs if we followed it through. That's why the wastefulness of technology sold for private profit and greed is not only an economic injustice, it's also a denial of our humanity. Our collective being, it's a denial of our collective being and our interconnectedness of our human experience. We as human beings can flourish and create a new society, but only if we own and control our economy, and therefore own and control the direction of our society. As socialists, we're for a workers' voice in politics, to bring into being a new society which is based on common ownership. The Labour Party needs to retain its vision. The Labour Party needs the link with the union movement, which is by its nature a collective link, because that link with organised labour grounds our policies in the experience of ordinary people at work and in our communities. It is the case that the cause of labour is truly the hope of the world. We have until the special conference in March to defend the link. And any of you here, I can see everyone here, everyone, different hue of socialists is here. And in fact, actually outside this room, hue of people who are some version of socialists. They all buy in, to some sense, to the idea of the Labour Party as a Labour Party. For the next few months, the priority must be to defend the link. Because what's at stake is that. It's about important things. It's about how our economy is run. It's about how society is. It's about whether we have a vision in politics at all for a better world. So keep the Labour Party Labour, defend the link.
Maria said the free pamphlets are available.